This is the new Pulsar Telos LRF XT50, the new top of the Telos line. I've had it out on a few hunts over the last while, so this is a real review and not a first look. I'll go through what's changed from the previous Telos, how the image and the rangefinder actually perform, where it does well, where it doesn't, and if you're deciding whether it's worth the money, that last part matters as much as the spec sheet. So I'll be straight with you on both. I'm Vilius and I've been running Pulsar devices in the field for years. Let's start with what's actually different, because if you already own a Telos, this is what you're paying for. The biggest functional change is the rangefinder. The previous Telos LRF topped out at 1000 meters, and it was fine, but it could be slow to lock, especially on smaller targets. The XT50 pushes that out to 1200 meters at ±1 meter. And in the field, it was quicker to give me a reading. That means less time holding the reticle on an animal, waiting for a number, and more confidence that the number you get is the right one. There's also a step up to the HD 1280 by 1024 sensor, which I'll get into properly in a minute. The rest is build. Pulsar has put gold accents on the XT50 to mark it as the flagship of the line. That part is cosmetic, so I won't oversell it. It's a way to tell the top model apart at a glance. What I do care about are the updated grips on the focus and zoom wheels. There's more texture on them now, and with cold hands or gloves on, that's a real practical improvement. You're not fighting a smooth ring at 4 o'clock in the morning. The rangefinder has a smaller footprint than the previous generation, so the whole unit is more compact and a bit trimmer to carry. There's now a tripod thread built straight into the body. On the old Telos, you needed a separate adapter to get it on a tripod, and that was one more thing to buy and one more thing to lose out in the field. For long observation sessions or for steady ranging off a tripod, being able to mount it directly matters more than it sounds. Who's it for? This is a flagship, priced like one, so I'll be honest about both sides. It makes sense for experienced thermal users, professional hunters, and anyone doing a lot of scanning over big ground, wild boar, predators, wildlife observation, forestry, search and rescue. If you spend hours behind the thermal and you care about identifying targets at distance, this is aimed at you. Who should skip it? If this is your first thermal, it's a lot of tool and a lot of money for features you won't lean on yet. If you mostly hunt in close range or in tight cover, a cheaper, smaller unit will do the job for far less. There's no shame in that, it's just matching the tool to the work that you do. Now the specs, but I want to explain what they mean in practice, because the headline numbers get misused a lot. The sensor is HD 1280 by 1024, 12 micron pixels with an NATD below 20 millikelvin. NATD is the sensitivity number. The lower is better, so that's a strong figure. Here's what the extra pixels actually buy you, and it's worth being clear about, because detection and identification are two different things. The spec sheet lists a detection range of 2300 meters, but detection only means you can tell something warm is out there. It does not mean you can tell what it is at that distance. Working out whether it's a boar or a sow, a dog or a deer happens at much closer distances, and that's where the resolution earns its place. At ranges where you're actually deciding whether to take an animal, the HD sensor gives you the detail to make that call instead of guessing at a worm shape. It also feeds a 1080p display, so the picture you're looking at is sharper than the older Telos screens. Field of view is 17.5 degrees, which is wide for its class. A wider field means you clear more ground per sweep and is easier to pick up and follow movement. On magnification, the base mag is 2x, and with digital zoom that takes you up to 16. With a zoom boost feature, that stretches it even further. One honest point, the zoom is digital, not optical. So when you zoom in, you're not adding detail, you're enlarging the pixels you already have. It helps you get a closer look to confirm what you're seeing, but it won't turn a blurry animal into a sharp one. Anyone telling you differently is trying to sell you something. Here's how it did in the field. Image quality. The HD sensor earns its place on the identification. I could separate a sow from a boar or a fox from a cat at ranges where lower res units give you a warm smudge. In woodland, it pulled animals off the background cleanly, and in the open, it stayed consistent across the frame. A caveat worth knowing, in very high thermal contrast, a warm night with a warm ground, you'll want to drop the amplification down so the image doesn't blow out. Push sensitivity too high in those conditions and everything bright washes together. In cold, foggy or wet conditions, it's the opposite. You turn the sensitivity up to pull the weak signal in. The XT50 gives you that range, but it's on you to use it. That's normal for a good thermal, not a flaw. Field of view, 17.5 degrees, helps you when you're scanning. Fewer sweeps to clear a tree line, better awareness of what's moving at the edges. Rangefinder is where the upgrade shows. Quick look, a clean number, out to 1200 meters when you need it. Paired with the ballistic sight set up correctly, it helps you take an ethical shot instead of a hopeful one. And I'll say what any honest reviewer should. The calculator is only as good as the data you feed it. Wrong input means a wrong solution, and that means a bad shot. Learn it properly before you trust it on a live game. Stabilization. The electronic image stabilization does this job at higher zoom. Without it, at magnification, your pulse shows up as a shake. With it on, the image cell is enough to hold steady on a distant animal and actually study it, which is what you want from scanning an observation tool. It's not magic, big movements still move the frame, but for keeping your eyes on something at range, it's worth having. In fog, rain, humidity, and the low light around dawn and dusk, it pulled usable detail out of conditions where your eyes give you nothing. Thermal has real limits in heavy fog and rain, and no unit sees through a wall of water, but within those limits, this held up about as well as I expected at this level. Ergonomics and the new grips? It's around 730 grams to run, with a body that stays comfortable over long sessions. Those updated focus and zoom grips are the standout for me day to day. It was easy to find, turn with the gloves, which is exactly when you don't want to be fumbling. Battery, it runs a Pulsar's LPS7i pack, quoted at around 8 hours. In practice, you'll get a bit less once you're recording and ranging a lot, but it comfortably covers the night's hunting. Charging is over USB-C, and it takes a wireless charging too. Carry a spare pack and it's a non-issue. Where it falls short, because nothing is perfect. It's expensive, and that's the honest headline con. You're paying flagship money for the device. It's larger and heavier than an entry-level thermal, which you'll feel on a long stalk. The digital zoom, as I said, it doesn't add detail, so don't buy into it expecting to zoom into clarity that isn't there. And there's a learning curve. To get the best image, you need to understand the amplification and contrast settings, and to trust the ballistic calculator, you need to input your data correctly. This unit rewards someone who will take the time, and if you want to just point and shoot, this is more than the device you need. If you're cross-shopping the XL50, I'm not gonna run the full comparison here, because I've made a separate video that does exactly that side by side. The short version is that the XT50 is the higher resolution, wider field option, and if you're trying to decide between the two, go watch that one. It's linked in the description. Verdict: if you want the best image quality in the Telos line, if identifying targets at distance matter to you, if you scan large areas and you'll actually use the features, the XT50 is a genuinely capable unit, and the rangefinder upgrade is a real-world difference over the old Telos. If you're new to thermal, hunt mostly close range, or you're price sensitive, buy a lower tier unit and spend the difference elsewhere. For what it is, a top-end handheld, it does the job well. Just go in knowing what you're paying for. Availability depends on your region, so I'll put the product page and the dealer link in the description. That's the place to check out the current pricing. If this was useful, subscribe. We'll put out more thermal reviews like this one. I'm Vilius, and thank you for watching.